Hello, welcome to Brimwood Farm. So today, as it is almost November, I thought I'd do a quick October ornamental flower beds tour. So I can show you maybe the flower beds in sort of their dying state rather than when they're all full of flowers, so you know what to expect. Everything's going to bed. I'm starting to cut back plants and prepare for winter. So let's go check it out. Now I should say, obviously I'm in the UK and we're in a temperate climate, but our winters are very hit or miss. Sometimes they're ever so cold and we get tons of frost, but I remember being here a couple of years ago and we didn't have a frost at all. So some plants and some sort of hardy annual things I tend to leave outside. Others, however, like this tree fern here and like this palm, I will, when the first frost is forecast, they will get wrapped up and brought into the conservatory. But on the most part, I leave stuff outside if I can. So I've got two main borders. The first one is here. This is my full sun border and you can see it's really gone over. If you think back to the summer, it was full of grasses and verbena and it looks really pretty. It had some nicotiana in there as well, but it's really sort of died off now. I've pulled out a couple of the sunflower plants. We've still got a few sunflowers going. But mainly, the main things are this osteospermum. It stopped flowering, but it's a great carpeting plant. These bells of Ireland, now I did grow them further up the garden just for cutting flowers. And I had a few extra and I popped them in here. And actually, I really like how they're coming through and giving a little bit of extra height to that osteospermum, especially because it's obviously stopped flowering. Verbena Bampton's cut back. Over there, we've got just a bit of New Zealand flax, and an Echium is in its second year. It should have flowered, but it's not got a lot of sun back there, so I think it'll probably flower in a couple of years' time as it grows. But that'll be gorgeous when it does come out. Obviously these sunflowers won't survive, they are true annuals, so as soon as they've really gone over, I will cut and harvest those flowers for seed. The sedum here, I don't know what happened to this sedum this year. Normally this would have come out into a blaze of pink and then gone over. It never reached its opening bud phase, I think, even though it's a drought tolerant plant. I think it just didn't get enough water perhaps. And then just along here you can see everything's dying off. So the geraniums have started to go. You can see they've got a little bit of mildew on them again because it's been very dry. And this will all get cut back. So this is a herbaceous perennial. So this will get cut right down to here. And so this patch will be completely just like this soil, and then next year, from these tiny spots here, we'll get all the new growth. So that's my main border. Now for next year, I'm planning on really optimizing this for cut flowers. So I'm going to do a ton of zinnias, I'm going to do more nicotiana and more sunflowers. I'm going to kind of forget maybe its use as just a pretty flower bed, and I'm going to use it more as a usable flower bed in terms of getting the cut flowers. And also a few weeks back I obviously potted up those seeds, those hardy annual seeds. I sowed them, the cornflowers, and I'm going to probably put those in here next year as well. Obviously we don't need to do much to the alpine troughs, they just go along quite happily, although they've kind of, this is taken over, so this might need a little bit of weeding out. This is a woolly thyme. It's really, really nice. It's very smelly, but again, you can see it's gone quite mad. And then this is another, this is a citrus thyme. Very nice again. And then my other bed is this bed, which I thought was partial shade, and I've spoken about it before, and actually it's more like full shade, with a little bit of sun now and then, as you can see. So the pine. We are still unsure what's going on with the pine. I pulled the pine out. It's not root bound. In fact, there's actually not a lot of root there. It might have had some root rot. Perhaps it hasn't got enough sun. So I may move it perhaps into this corner where I've got the magnolia and things, where that does get sun down there, and try and bake that soil a little bit. The nice thing is though, these cyclamen are starting to come out. Again, this foxglove I talked about before, it's self-sown. It's kind of over now, and it will need to come out because I have my lovely little perfumed white narcissi down there. So even though this would probably survive till next year, I will need to cut it out so those narcissi can come through. And then down here, I've mostly just started to cut everything back because, as I say, I made a mistake with the aspect of this. So there were a lot of plants in here that weren't really suitable. There's salvias. Now at this time of year, I cut them right back. So like you can see here, this is one I haven't cut back, and it's really tall and leggy, and it will keep growing for now from these tips, but you don't want it to get it too long. So what I tend to do is cut it right back down to the base where it's got these little flowers. Now it may need doing a couple of times again because we're in a temperate zone. If we don't get a really cold winter, I mean this will happily be here with covered in frost and snow. If we don't get a cold winter, it will keep growing, so it may then need some covering over. I've got this pulmonaria as well that needs to be split and sort of spreaded around. This is a beautiful plant for early flowers for those bees. And then I've got this little mollis. So these are what I grew from seed. I've got one here, and then another here, just in front of that black Ophiopogon. And in fact, also that's another reason why that foxglove needs to come out. So to showcase that Ophiopogon a bit more. It's actually not grass, it's actually a lily. It's a fabulous little plant, and it spreads itself really, really easy. Now you can see I have put down some compost, so I've been cutting back everything, putting down compost to smother the weeds, but also when the cold comes, sort of breaks the soil down more, it will get all those nutrients into the ground. Now you might remember earlier in the year I cut back this cornice or dogwood quite severely. So it only had two stems. It had this one and it had this one. But you can see from cutting it, I now have 4 stems. And this random little stem coming off the side. And that's to get these beautiful coloured stems. So when all these leaves drop off and the sunflowers are pulled down and the leaves have all fallen off, this dark elderberry and the smoke bush will have these blazing red stems to lift the border and add some colour. Now with a really, really big variety, you might leave it every 2 years, but this is just going to keep growing up and up and up. So next year I will probably cut it back again to just get more and more and more stems coming out. This one, I have another one here. Didn't work quite as well. I think I had, what did I have? Well look, I had 2 stems and I only got 2 stems. But again, next year, if I cut this again, they should double up and I'll have 4 stems. I do love the colour. Even now, you can see that it's going to be lovely. And then when it's really cold and these green have dropped off. These are the blackberries from Liberia that I've put in. So I've got one here, and then one here. So again, we'll be keeping an eye on these over the next year to see how they do. They've settled in really well. Look, there's a horrible slug there. And then we've just got a couple of little bits down here. This brilliant geranium, which constantly flowers. I've cut it back 3 times this year, right back into the base there, and it comes up and flowers. This euphorbia has been great. This is what's left of the sweet peas, which again didn't do well because shady wall. This probably did the best, and actually I've left some pods on so I can collect some seeds. And then this is the Mina lobata, which continues to thrive, although we have a slight issue with some trellising. Look, it's either pulling the trellising down or it's holding it together. I think it's a bit of both, so I'm just going to leave it for now and see what happens. But that is the state of play with the ornamental borders. So next year, this shady one, I'm going to take a lot of this stuff out. This iris is going to come out, possibly these salvias are going to come out, and I'm going to go and get a load more of shade loving plants. Some heucheras can tolerate shade and sun, so I'll probably get some more heucheras to put in here. Pulmonaria is fine because when it's flowering in spring when nothing's grown. But obviously there's quite a bit of empty soil that I can put stuff into. And then again on this side, this is the full sun. So this is where I'll be putting in the really hot zinnias, sunflowers and cut flowers. And then around here where my entrances are, both to the aviary and the shed, we need to sort out some low growing hardy thing that doesn't mind being stamped on now and then. Now most of this died off obviously because when I had chick check I had this door open and I had a pen out here and the chicks just caused rampant chaos. But what I would like to do is maybe get some chamomile or something that can grow really, really low, creep around, cover all this soil up, and then keep the chickens off it obviously. And then the same thing is here as well, because obviously here we have a bit of a bank. So I need something to grow into this soil and hold it back, because over time as I'm walking in and out it falls. So again, a nice low growing plant, maybe some ajuga, or again thyme, some low growing creeping thyme or chamomile or something, just to stop this eroding every time I walk over it. And that probably is about it. I'm going to continue enriching the soil over the next couple of months by just putting loads of compost material down. I'll be splitting these up. I'll be splitting the pulmonaria up. I've left these little wild violets in just because they cover the base of the plant down here, and obviously they help with the soil not drying out. That is one thing I found with this garden: the soil dries out very, very, very quickly. So as much ground cover as I can get is a good thing, because it helps retain moisture. And here are these lovely little things that I took the cuttings of. Why do I always forget the names when I'm in mid-sway? I will put a link to what they are. But these have done quite well. Now I've cut them back, and I've got another one down here that's got really, really leggy. But again, look how far back it is in the border. Look how much light it is not getting. So that will be lifted and brought forward. So that is a quick overview of what's happening in the ornamental beds. And just to show you that I haven't forgotten the veggie garden, it is still here. We have still got stuff growing. We've still got carrots and turnips and beets in the ground. We've got kale up there. We've still got gourds in. We haven't actually got any gourds produced. And then in the greenhouse, you can probably see there are still tomatoes. I don't pull all my tomatoes out. I'm going to just leave them, and get as many ripe as possible. So that was a whistle-stop tour of the ornamental beds and a few peeks through to the vegetable garden and things like that. And it's really the time of year when you're starting to clear everything away, but I quite like it because it's sort of what's gone wrong this year can be corrected next year, and we can spend the next few months planning, getting out those plant catalogues, bulb catalogues, seed catalogues, and buying. I'm really looking forward to next year. If you've got any ideas of some great shady loving plants you'd like to see me grow, please tell me in the comments, and I'll look them up and I'll see if they might fit. But for now, it's beautiful blue sky, so I'm going to go and do a little bit more gardening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.